The following program is an opinion program. The opinions expressed by the hosts and guests of this program are not the opinions of the management, staff, and advertisers of this station. Please direct all criticism, concern, and adulation to the hosts of this program.
Welcome to Alabama Politics. This week I am Dale Jackson. I'm a radio talk show host. You can hear my shows Monday through Friday from 5 to 9 a.m. on WVNN in Huntsville. And you can also hear me from 10 until noon. 10 until 11, the fastest hour of radio on Talk 99.5 in Birmingham. With me, as always, Mecca Music from 256today.com. Smart news for smart people. And I will tell you, as we move forward, you're going to see a pretty smart person out here today. Brad Presnall will be with us. He's an opposition research guy. He's ran campaigns. He's worked on campaigns. He is, I think, now helping with the messaging for Dale Strong and Tommy Tuberville. I had him do opposition research on me one time. We will not be discussing that. So I know what you were thinking, Mecca. And the answer is no. You can talk to him off the air on that. I'm squeaky clean. You can't do anything with me. And then I've got a parting shot for you as well. But as for right now, let's go ahead and get to it. Let's get to the 2-minute warning. Depending on when you are watching this and how you are watching this ceasefire in Israel is probably over. I'm just going to be completely honest with you. I don't have much faith for this. Especially what we might consider a ceasefire. The drones will still be flying. They will still be tracking Hamas leaders who are the Israelis are taking out in pretty good numbers. I think rocket attacks will come, but they won't be from Hamas. No. They'll be from Palestinian Islamic Jihad or some other organization that is totally not the same people with a different color headband. It is exactly different people. Don't worry about that. We will see some people released, hopefully a lot of them, hopefully all of them. But this war is not over by a long shot. This ceasefire only goes on as long as Hamas wants it to. Mecca, we're not near the end here, are we?
No, and actually, it's not a ceasefire, it's a pause. And if you listen it makes a difference. If you listen to the way they're describing it, they are very deliberately saying a pause. There is no end in sight at the moment. What the goal is to get as many as hostages as possible, and then it's going to be right back, I think, to what we are, or it's expected. To where we are.
I've been calling it a ceasefire for days. So
no, it's a pause. It's a pause.
Yeah, and I think that correction, I think, is a good indication of where this actually is right now. And I think everybody wants this over. I think everybody wants this to end. But it's not going to end based on a conversation where Hamas goes, okay, we'll stop. That part of the conversation over. The Israelis have a history of absorbing a lot of punishment and then dealing out a lot of punishment, and that's they're in the dealing out phase here.
Yes.
I was explaining to my wife, who didn't know this, the story of the movie Munich, where they found people responsible for killing the Israeli Olympic athletes, and then they sent out people all over the world to kill them without the permission of the countries and all these other things. They were operating a lot of different things. And I think they've actually intimated that this is going to be a similar situation. So I think this thing is far from over in the direct fighting and in the broader impact this is going to have across the globe. So let's move on. Let's talk about the great state of Alabama. My favorite subject. I've always said redistricting is the most important topic in the best conversation you could ever possibly have on this program. And Mecca has agreed, begrudgingly, but she has come around on this. I was speaking to the former U.S. Attorney Jay Town, the Northern District of Alabama, appointed by Donald Trump, about a new ruling in the Voting Rights Act. And all you have to do is look at how people respond to it on social media. Alabama Democrats have said this is an attack on voters, so they don't like this. And they're worried about how this ruling out of another district is going to impact the previous rulings in Alabama. So I asked Jay Town about that, and he told me, he said, look, we could be looking at a certain set of districts for 2022 that we've already voted on, a new set of districts that will be voted on in 2024, and then based on how this goes up with the Supreme Court, a new set of districts in 2026. I bet, Mecca, that there are a bunch of people who have run for this seat from out of the district or maybe even in the district who are probably thinking, okay, maybe this wasn't that good of an idea because now I'm going to have to, even if I win, I'm going to have to defend this in another district.
Okay, so number one, I have talked about the importance of redistricting and what can happen
Wait.
forever. Okay, and you were the one who was against it. Number two, I don't think that's going to happen.
You don't think so? Why is that?
Because I feel like, and not saying this ruling isn't important, but I feel like if anything, it'll just be for things moving forward. I don't think they're going to go back and change it.
Oh, I absolutely think the Alabama legislature, Steve Marshall and everyone else will absolutely say, if this is the rule in Mississippi, why is this not the rule now here? Because they couldn't have, if you're not allowed to bring the challenge, which is what this ruling says.
Right, no, and I get that.
Hold on, just so you like to give information, I'm going to tell them. Private citizens.
I do like it when you do that.
Private citizens cannot challenge.
Right.
Only the Department of Justice can challenge. So if private citizens challenge in Alabama and they wipe that clean, they will go back and potentially wipe that. And you may see a redrawing of districts. And I'll tell you what, you become a Democrat to win District 2, and then you got Terry Sewell there, and Republicans get the ability to do this. Draw those guys into the same district. You might have a really interesting 2026.
Well, and you know, actually, I do think that can happen, especially with the Republican administration, because then you're looking at, okay, if it has to be the DOJ who brings these sort of lawsuits to the courts, then obviously, you know, what administration is going to be doing that?
Oh, yeah. And, but Republicans redrawing in Alabama is a very real possibility. And there's a precedent.
But there is a possibility that it could just be for moving forward.
Sure. But there's a real precedent in Alabama for different districts being drawn at the state level and different elections based on various things. And so it's not unheard of. Let's move on. Let's talk about something else here that I've been paying very close attention to this story. I've been very negative about some of the things we've seen across this state in Decatur, Mobile, Birmingham, wherever these police shootings are taking place. We're having different responses to how it's handled. Now, some of this has to do with investigations that are ongoing. Mobile, it seemed like their release of a police shooting video, they seem to want to get that out before an investigation even really started, and they let people see it. And then there's some questions about other videos in different places. If it exonerates, it seems to come out very soon. If there's a lot of questions about it, it seems to delay it. Those are not hard and fast rules, but that's how it looks. In the city of Decatur, they have been bogged down in something for almost 8 weeks now, while Mobile tried to get out in front of it and end it recently. Mecca, I've been talking to lawmakers about this, and I think most of them I've talked to seem to agree. The current law regarding police videos showing shootings and things like that, it needs to be refined. Right now, it's sort of this, you can have it if they want to give it to you, but they don't have to, which means they don't have to. That's the end of that. I think we need some sort of hard and fast rule that
there
says
needs
here's
to be
what
a
we're going to do.
standard. There needs to be a standard going forward, so you don't have this confusion. Because some people expect it, outlets expect it. It's and then other ones, it's like, oh no, we're not going to give it out. There needs to be just across the board. This is how it's done. We need a procedure in place. I completely agree with that. And then on the other hand, part of the getting the funding and having all the police cameras for every officer and all these things, so a lot of that was done by saying, hey, we're going to have more transparency. We're going to have more accountability.
And I think it's benefited law enforcement
exactly,
on the whole.
And it should have, right. But then for you to go back and waffle on it, or we're not going to show this, we're not going to show that, it kind of takes away a lot of that argument.
And when you waffle, as you said, as they've sort of done in Decatur here, they find themselves with no trust. And look, the protesters have been told, you're going to get to see the video when this is all said and done. And they've said not good enough. The problem here is we need to have a hard and fast rule to where they say, well, too bad, that's not our call.
That's the law.
One of those guys I talked to was Gerald Allen. Gerald Allen is a state senator from Tuscaloosa, and he said, hey, this sounds like a pretty good idea, and he's going to be looking at these police videos and seeing that. He also has some other bills up right now, and I am a big fan of these bills. I'm just going to be completely honest with you. We kind of talked about some of these on this program in the past. Montgomery had a situation with flags flying all over the city, and they were questioning what was allowed and what wasn't. Under Gerald Allen's proposed law, you can have the American flag, a state flag, a city flag if you're layman, you have one, and then the 9/11 flag. Those are the ones you can fly.
I think Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts was in there.
Okay, maybe Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts are in there as well. Stuff like that. The reasonable things. Nobody disagrees with any of that stuff. People might say, well, I disagree with the American flag. Great, wonderful. But most people don't. Now, why did this come up? Gay pride flags, Christian pride flags, all these other things. It's not the role of the city. Sit down, shut up, put up your flag, be quiet. Why are we having these conversations? I like this idea. Mecca, your thoughts?
What is the other bill?
The other bill, is a bill that says you're going to play the national anthem in schools at least once a week. And I love this bill, too, because of the reaction to it. AL.com sent a student reporter into his own high school. Great job. And then they found 2 kids who said, "I don't believe in the national anthem," which you don't get a choice. It's there. It exists. You don't believe in anything. You may not believe in the ideas behind it or any of that stuff. That's fine, but you can't not believe in the anthem. And they found nobody that said, yeah, go ahead and do it. Now, the thing that I love about this, I told Gerald Allen this too. I said, why don't you print this story out and go down to the legislature and say, this is why we need this. And because that's exactly the message that you're going to see. These bills I love. Mecca, it took me a minute and 40 seconds to explain it. What do you think?
Okay, so do these bills impact or improve the daily lives of Alabamians in any way?
I would
effectively?
Yeah, I would argue it would.
Or, I'm not finished.
Okay.
Do they appeal to the Republican base?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, the answer is yes on both.
What would be the major goal of these bills?
Oh, I think the major goal of these bills would be, one, to enforce how awesome this country is. That's number one. and make people see it. Number two, I think these are also, they're get out the vote Republican messaging bills.
I hate to be cynical, but obviously that is exactly what this is.
Why would you hate to be cynical? Literally, that is the basis of this entire program. No, you're right about that.
That's your job. Your job is to be cynical.
You're exactly right about this. I have absolutely no problem with it. But I also believe that there's a reason behind this. One, the flag thing, I'm tired of hearing about it. I want that off the table. It's just like the police video thing.
You're
Take it out of their hands and say, hey, go pick up the trash. All right? Because that is your job. I want to call my city councilman and I want to say, hey, they're not picking up trash. I don't want to be like, why do you have a flag up here or this or that? Stop it. I want to deal with it. I'm being dead serious about that.
I believe you. I believe you.
As for the bill about the national anthem, I read that story, and my only critique on that will be it should be in every class. After reading stuff like that, every class, every day, they should play the national anthem all day.
And also, despite your kind of rudeness towards the student writer, I'd like to encourage student writers. It can be hard to give viewpoints and messages and things like that. So I would like to just applaud them for giving it a shot, even if it didn't meet your standards.
I agree. I just think they should be better. I mean, I don't think the student failed.
Okay.
The outlet failed.
Okay.
The outlet failed the student by allowing him to look so bad. I mean, that's really what they did. So again, no knock on him.
Not everybody thinks that.
Well, they're wrong. I mean, that's as simple as it is. Mecca, thank you very much. When we come back, Brian Presnell will be with us. He's an opposition research guy, a political consultant. We'll talk about some of the messaging going on here in the great state of Alabama and beyond. Stay tuned. It's Alabama Politics This Week.
You work hard to earn little escapes because doing your best means being your best. So let us help you discover your best at Premier Dental Spa. With our unique blend of cosmetic, dental, and spa-like aesthetic services, you'll leave feeling relaxed, refreshed, and renewed. Make sure the best you is here to stay and book your appointment online today at premierdentalspa.com.
Hey folks, Dale Jackson here for my friends at University Kia. Now look, I love Kias. I've driven plenty of them. I used to have a Kia Sportage. When my son was born, my wife said, no, we got to get ourselves one of these big SUVs. The Telluride from University Kia is an absolutely amazing vehicle. You get it at a great price, but you get everything at University Kia at a great price. Learn more about them today. Head on over to universitykia.com. Find the perfect vehicle for you, new and pre-owned. They got it for you. universitykia.com. Welcome back to Alabama Politics This Week. I'm Dale Jackson. With me, as always, Mecca Music. And our guest this week is Brad Presnell. He is an opposition research guy, campaign finance. He has done campaign managing, and as of now, he is on the comms teams for Tommy Tuberville, the United States Senator there from Auburn, and Dale Strong from the 5th Congressional District in North Alabama. There's a lot of stuff I want to talk to him about here, but I want to get your thoughts on redistricting first and foremost, because this could have a ripple effect in every district across the state. And, there's actually been a pretty smart school of thought that says if you move these districts around and you make them less competitive, it depresses turnout in Senate races and governor's races as well. What are your thoughts on the potential redistricting that we could see in the state of Alabama that could see new districts in 2026 now?
Well, the 8th District circuit ruling basically said that within the Voting Rights Act that a private citizen can't sue and the case should be thrown out. and that the Attorney General of the United States has sole authority to sue. And, Dale, that would be certainly interesting and, frankly, a mess if we go back to current districts after having an election based on the redrawn districts, and that would leave newly elected candidates in limbo wondering how it affects them and their future. And I could see a situation where in the second congressional race in South Alabama, but let's say, for example, Anthony Daniels from Huntsville won that race in 24 and became the next congressman, and legally the district has to go back to what it was before he ran in 2026. Does that mean that Congressman Barry Moore gets his pre-drawn district seat back, or would he have to run against Anthony Daniels to win it back? There are a lot of unknowns.
Well, also, there'd be another question there. If they did redraw the district for the 2026 election, would they draw Anthony Daniels into a district where he would have to run against Terry Sewell? I mean, I get that you don't actually have to live in the district or anything, but would that be a more advantageous seat for him in that situation? I mean, this is chaos. You said that. But as a lifelong political operative, I'm sure you like the idea of that chaos. What do you think?
Well, it's certainly interesting and gives us folks a lot to talk about. But definitely, I mean, I could see where Anthony Daniels, like you said, he could go into Sewell's district. He could come back to Huntsville and run for the state senate again. He could do any number of things, and it's absolutely complete chaos. That's a perfect word that you just slapped on it.
Now, Brad, let's shift topics a little bit here. With the Republican presidential debate coming to Tuscaloosa, and with your past work with campaigns, what is the advice you would give to these candidates that will be taking the stage?
I would give them the advice to make it personal, make it about Alabama, bring up some Alabama issues that we're talking about and fighting for and or fighting against, and let people know that, hey, we just don't take Alabama for granted. It's just not going to be a check in the GOP side come November of 24, which it is. But these candidates have to fight it out in the primary, and so goes Alabama, so goes the South. We could see a deal where Alabama and Mississippi and Arkansas, South Carolina could all pretty much vote the same. We saw that back in 2008 when I worked for my old boss, Mike Huckabee, and he did very well on Super Tuesday. So Super Tuesday may be the primer to seeing who's going to actually get the nominee this time around.
Sticking on that debate, so far we have not seen Space Command be mentioned in any of these debates. We have not heard Tommy Tuberville's holds mentioned as well, which surprised me. I mean, the second one, especially the Tommy Tuberville,
I would love to see that.
I would love to see what they have to say about it. I mean, and just for a second, Brad, before we do this, one of the things I find most interesting about this is they're talking about, we need 60 votes in order to overdo or overtake what Tommy Tuberville's doing. Who are those 9 Republicans? We have no idea who they are. I asked Tommy Tuberville this week, do you know who they are? He's like, I don't know. So he sounds like he doesn't even think that it's there. But that hasn't come up. We haven't heard that, Brad. Do those come up in this debate that's coming in a couple weeks?
It's very possible. And again, these candidates that are going to be on stage, we will be able to see the connections they have to the state of Alabama. If they have any consultants here that they can trust to say, hey, what is important to Alabamians? Is talking about Tommy Tuberville something we should or should not do? There's a lot of open-ended questions, and I can see some more haymakers being thrown, and I think it'll be very exciting for the state party and the city of Tuscaloosa to have it down there.
Now, you've worked on presidential campaigns before, I believe for Mike Huckabee, if I remember correctly, and you've been in this world before. What happened in Iowa this week is pretty interesting. All the political prognosticators seem to think that Ron DeSantis has picked up a lot of momentum with Kim Reynolds, the governor, endorsing him. Bob Vanderplaat, an Iowa religious leader up there, endorsing him as well. I don't know. I look at the polls, and I think to myself, 30 points based on that? I'm not so sure we're going to see much of a difference there. Do you think there's like some real based on the response that Trump's given, the responses to these two things have not been friendly or kind to him, I think. But based on that response and your knowledge, is it possible he could move 30 points with these two endorsements? It doesn't seem likely.
It doesn't seem likely to me, but I can give you a historical context, Dale. You mentioned I worked for Mike Huckabee back in 2008. We were basically an unknown. Now, Governor Huckabee did go to Iowa, and he basically moved in up there. He was spending quite a bit of time up there, and we got Bob Vanderplaat's endorsement. And that put us over the edge where we won Iowa based on Mr. Vanderplaat's coming on our team. So do not underestimate it. I mean, he's very powerful. He's got the church network sewn up. He's got all the faith and family coalitions and organizations sewn up. And I think it'll really narrow coming in the next few weeks.
Well, since you have that experience, an attack on Vanderplat's in that way, where Donald Trump puts out a press release and the S is a dollar sign. Thank God this isn't a Jewish leader, based on the time we're in, because we know how that would have been reacted to. But
why would you even say that?
Because have you not been paying attention to what's
Yes,
been going on
I
in the
have.
world? People have been
But
saying all
still.
sorts of stupid things and getting themselves in trouble.
Okay, continue.
So I'm just saying, attacking him. Does that hurt him? Will there be people in Iowa who go, okay, I'm done?
I'm not sure, but I doubt it. People are used to President Trump attacking anybody and everybody who says anything negative against him or is not on his team. So I think right now people are pretty much tone deaf listening from President Trump. They either like him or they don't, and I don't think it'll move the needle a lot. But, again, don't underestimate it. I think it will narrow the gap some from DeSantis. But I think what it'll also do, Dale, is I think it will ensure that DeSantis does not finish lower than second. And in these early primary states, there's a couple of tickets out of each state. And if you can finish second in Iowa, moving on to New Hampshire and Nevada and South Carolina and Super Tuesday, anything's possible. Now,
Brad, we've been talking about DeSantis a lot. Is there any path forward for Nikki Haley at this point?
Oh, absolutely. I think she's picking up a lot of money from donors who have left Tim Scott. I think that she still has a voice as being a strong woman. I think she's going to attract a lot of the soccer moms, so to speak, and a lot of independents like her. I think she still has a say in the race. I think you can pretty much mark out Ramaswamy and Chris Christie, and I think it's a three-person race at this point.
You said the money from Tim Scott will go to Nikki Haley, but what about both of her voters?
Both of them probably will go to Nikki Haley, yes.
just checking. All right, back to the state of Alabama here for a second. Gerald Allen has been making a lot of news. We talked about him in the last segment here. He's offered up a bunch of different bills. I spoke to him this week. The national anthem in schools, flags on in the city flagpoles. He also talked about school choice and the library issues as well. I mean, this is the gamut of if the GOP party, if the Republican Party was a Thanksgiving dinner, this is everything. He's just out there gobbling all these things up. Why is he doing that? And why is he pre-filing all these bills in November for a session that doesn't start in February? What should we take from that?
I wonder why.
Well, the reason before you answer, the thing is, I'm asking why is it happening right now? Why do it in November? What's the reasoning for that?
I think he's probably checking the temperature on it. He doesn't want to take it into the session and carry a bill that has no weight. So I think he's just checking the temperature and seeing what Alabamians think about it. And, of course, going on your show and others, that gives him a good temperature gauge, so to speak, to think what Alabamians really believe. And I think his proposed bills, they're patriotic, and they're a response to what we're seeing in America. And things that we're seeing now, we would not have seen 10 years ago. I think of the idea of the schools playing the national anthem once a week. When I was growing up, and probably when both of you guys were growing up, we said the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag every morning at 8 o'clock at the start of the school day. And hearing the national anthem at school was a normal thing. And we have seen our country get away from patriotism overall, but especially in the school systems. And I think Senator Allen thinks we ought to get back to that.
Okay, Brad, tell me if I'm being too cynical then. Okay.
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay, so is there a small chance, though, perhaps this is a good time because nobody else in Alabama is talking about the legislature's out. I mean, it's a good chance to grab the spotlight. It's a good chance to get your name out there and what you stand for and appeal to your Republican base. I mean, surely there's a small part of that.
Well, we are talking about politics, and I think everybody in politics kind of deals that way. That's how you have to do to order to get your agenda advanced. If he wants to get a little bit of the spotlight, he's stepping out. He's going to take some criticism. I think it's a yin and a yang there where you get some good and you get some bad. So we'll just see what has to happen. I know that the session's going to have a lot of other issues, school choice, gaming, and some other things. These may be lost in the shuffle depending on the calendar. So we'll just have to see how it plays out.
And you talk about the gambling thing. Since you brought it up, I'm going to ask you this before we get out of here. real quick. 77 different illegal gambling operators in Jefferson County, which tells me they know where they are. So I don't know why they just don't get them. But you have 77 illegal gambling operators there, illegal gambling in every county across the district. So you have those entities. Then you have the racetrack stuff. Then you have the quasi-bingo stuff, which is similar to all of this. Then you have the Porch Creek Indians. And then you have the people that want to come in and do stuff. You have all these different things. And I've said this before, and Mecca loves this analogy. She told me how much she enjoys it, or not this analogy, but the statement. I think if you go to the voters and offer them anything, even if the money went to Hamas, that people would vote for it. I truly believe that. The legislature's the problem, coming up with the deal down there that they will put on the ballot and let people vote on because of all these different groups and their factions they have in the legislature. Is gambling even possible with these factions?
I think it's possible, and the argument that you just made sounds like a high-dollar lobbyist, and Dale, you may have missed your calling, because that would be a good argument that you could take in the halls of the House to make. And I think that's an argument that's going to continue to be made. The illegal gambling, is it going to fight bringing in legal gambling? Or if we get legal gambling on a wide scale, should we let it happen and just tax the devil out of it? I mean, these are the arguments that are going to be fought over in this next session.
I'm a radio guy. Make me an offer. Go ahead.
You have to be likable to be a lobbyist.
I'm very likable.
Pointing that out.
I'm likable and adorable. That's what people always say about me. Brad Presnall, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate you talking with us about this. He's a political communications guy. Mecca, contact him if you want that opposition research file he did on me. If you want to see it, there's nothing there. I'm squeaky clean. I promise you that. Mecca's on her way out the door, so the show gets so much better. So stay tuned. My partner shot's coming up next here on Alabama Politics This Week.
Want fun, safe, intelligent fitness programming? Want to build muscular strength, cardiovascular endurance, drastically improve range of motion and mobility, and learn proper nutrition to fuel your life with energy and emotional health? Well, come find out why Iron Tribe Fitness is ranked one of the top 5 fitness programs in America. Come find out why personal training and intentionally working on your current movement patterns individually is not only important, it's just another core value that separates Iron Tribe Fitness from other fitness facilities.
To learn how to get your 2-week free pass, go to irontribefitness.com.
Welcome back to Alabama Politics This Week. I am Dale Jackson. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to jump into the party shot here in a second. But first, let me tell you about my friends over there at YellowHammerNews.com. Yes, you can get the 7 things you should be talking about today delivered right to your email inbox every single day, Monday through Friday. You'll know exactly what's going on. Also, you can follow my Yellowhammer Now videos there as well, and see old episodes of this show, but I don't know why you would do that. Go to YellowHammerNews.com. Check all of that out today. As for right now, let's go ahead and get into the parting shot. My parting shot this week is directed at a fantastic premise that was created by Trisha Powell Crane at AL.com. Her argument was that the state of Alabama paddles too many children, and that was leading to low educational scores in the state. She just forgot to back up her argument with anything close to a fact. Now, I don't blame them for this. It's not their fault. Not much is expected from them, so you don't get much from them. But let me lay this out to you here real quick. The number of kids that have been paddled over the last couple of years in Alabama has decreased significantly, almost by 3/4, from around 10,000 to 2,000. Now, again, I don't hit my kid, and I'd be pretty pissed off if somebody at their school was hitting them as well, but that's beside the point. Well, the number of people paddling has gone down in Alabama schools. So have the scores. The scores have gone down significantly. And you can blame the pandemic for both of those things if you want to. But if you're going to write about education and you're going to talk about statistics and you're going to talk about the quality of education, you should at least pretend you have one so you can use it to make the arguments make sense. It's unfortunate, but this is the lead education writer at AL.com pushing a falsehood that makes absolutely no sense. Now, I am with her. The schools in Alabama absolutely suck. And I'm not here to tell you anything different, but the answer to that is talking about how you make schools better, give people more choice, school choice, etc. It's not making up harebrained schemes about how much Alabama sucks in general, which is all she really did. Now, she'll probably win an award for that, and I understand that. But that just kind of highlights how broken that industry is all the way around. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for watching and listening to Alabama Politics This Week. We'll talk to you soon.